What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a morning show set and gets disrespected on live television? In just 29 seconds, a single comment from the host would turn a routine interview into the most explosive moment in morning television history. Denzel Washington arrived at the Good Morning America studio that morning, ready to discuss his latest film project. The atmosphere seemed normal as he shook hands with the panel. Lara Spencer sat in the center, flanked by George Stephanopoulos and Robin Roberts. The cameras rolled, the lights blazed, and millions of viewers tuned in for what they thought would be a standard celebrity interview. Lara started with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "So, Denzel, great to have you here. We're all dying to know about your new movie. But first, I have to ask, what took you so long to come back to morning television? Been avoiding us?" Denzel chuckled politely. "Not at all. I've just been busy working. Doing what I love." Right, Lara said, waving her hand dismissively. "But some people might say you've been a bit selective about where you show your face these days. Like you think you're too good for certain shows." The smile faded slightly from Denzel's face. George shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Robin's eyes widened just a fraction. "I don't think that at all," Denzel replied calmly. "I do interviews when they fit my schedule and when I have something meaningful to promote." Lara leaned forward, her tone shifting. "Meaningful. Interesting word choice. So you're saying some shows aren't meaningful enough for you?" "That's not what I said," Denzel responded, his voice still measured but firmer now. George tried to intervene. "Lara, maybe we should talk about the film itself." "Denzel, the premise sounds fascinating." But Lara wasn't finished. No, I think this is interesting. Because Denzel, let's be honest, you've developed quite the reputation for being difficult. Your co-stars have said it, directors have hinted at it. You come in here acting like we should be grateful you showed up. The studio went dead silent. Robin looked at Lara with genuine shock. George's mouth opened, but no words came out. Denzel sat back in his chair, studying Lara's face. "Excuse me? What did you just say?" "I think you heard me," Lara continued, seeming to gain confidence from crossing the line. "You walk in here with this air of superiority, like you're doing us some huge favor by gracing us with your presence. Our viewers can see right through it." "Lara?" Robin interjected, her voice tight. "That's completely uncalled for. Denzel is our guest and deserves respect." "Oh, I'm sorry. Are we not allowed to ask real questions anymore?" Lara shot back at Robin. "Are we supposed to just kiss up to every celebrity who walks through that door?" Denzel's jaw tightened. His eyes, usually warm and inviting, had gone cold. "Let me tell you something. I've been in this industry for over 40 years. I've worked with the best, and I've earned every single thing I have through hard work, dedication, and treating people with respect, something you clearly know nothing about." "See, there it is," Lara said, pointing at him. "That's exactly what I'm talking about. That arrogance." "It's not arrogance to expect basic professionalism," Denzel replied, his voice rising slightly. "You invited me here. You asked me to take time out of my day to come on your show, and instead of having a conversation about the work, you're attacking my character based on what? Gossip? Rumors?" George finally found his voice. "I think we need to take a breath here. This has gotten out of hand." "No, George, it hasn't gotten out of hand enough," Lara snapped. "I'm tired of pretending like these actors are untouchable. They need to be held accountable." "Accountable for what exactly?" Denzel demanded. "For having standards? For choosing projects I believe in? For not jumping every time someone snaps their fingers?" Lara scoffed. "For thinking you're better than everyone else? For looking down on people who work just as hard as you do? You know what your problem is, Denzel? You've been told you're special for so long that you actually believe it." The other panelists looked horrified. Robin put her hand over her mouth. George looked down at his notes, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. Denzel stood up slowly, his 6-foot frame towering over the desk. He reached up and removed his microphone with deliberate, controlled movements. "You know what? I don't need this. I don't need to sit here and be insulted by someone who doesn't know the first thing about me." "Running away?" Lara taunted. "Typical. Can't handle a little honest conversation?" "Honest conversation?" Denzel repeated, his voice now carrying the full weight of his decades of experience. "That's what you call this? You ambushed me on live television. You made personal attacks disguised as journalism. That's not honest. That's just cruel and unprofessional." Robin stood up as well, looking at Denzel with apologetic eyes. Denzel, please, this isn't what we planned. I'm so sorry. I know it's not your fault, Robin, Denzel said, his tone softening slightly when addressing her. You've always been a class act. Same with you, George, but I won't sit here and let someone disrespect me for ratings. Oh, please, Lara rolled her eyes. Everything is about ratings. That's why you're here in the first place, to sell your movie. Don't act like you're above it all. There's a difference between promoting your work and being someone's punching bag, Denzel countered. I came here in good faith. I prepared thoughtful answers about the film, about the craft, about the incredible team I worked with. But you had a different agenda from the start, didn't you? Lara crossed her arms. My agenda is to have real conversations, not scripted fluff pieces. Real conversations require mutual respect, Denzel said firmly. They require listening, not just waiting for your turn to attack. What you did here today wasn't journalism. It wasn't even entertainment. It was just mean-spirited. George tried once more to salvage the situation. Denzel, if you could just sit back down, maybe we can start over and talk about the film. Denzel shook his head. I appreciate that, George, but no, some things you can't start over. She showed me exactly who she is, and I believe her. So that's it? Lara challenged. You're just going to storm off because someone didn't worship the ground you walk on? No, Denzel replied, his voice steady and powerful. I'm leaving because I refuse to participate in whatever game you're playing. You wanted to create a moment? Congratulations, you got one. But it's not the moment you think it is. Robin stepped closer to Denzel. I'm really sorry. This should never have happened. It's okay, Denzel said gently to her. You didn't do anything wrong, but I have to go. Lara wasn't done. You know what this proves? That you can't handle it when someone doesn't treat you like royalty. That's the real story here. Mr. Oscar winner can dish it out, but can't take it. Denzel paused in his exit, turning back to face her one last time. You want to know what I can't take? I can't take watching someone use their platform to tear others down instead of building them up. I can't take watching someone hide behind the excuse of tough questions when they're really just being cruel. And I can't take the idea that this is what morning television has become. Those are big words from someone who's running away, Lara shot back. I'm not running, Denzel said quietly. I'm choosing. I'm choosing not to give you any more of my time or energy. I'm choosing not to let you bait me into saying something I'll regret, and I'm choosing to walk away with my dignity intact. George looked at the cameras nervously. We should probably go to commercial. No, let him finish his tantrum, Lara said dismissively. It's not a tantrum, Robin said sharply to Lara, her patience clearly exhausted. It's a completely justified response to your behavior. What were you thinking? I was thinking someone needed to knock him down a peg, Lara replied. Denzel laughed, but there was no humor in it. Knock me down a peg. That's what this was about, not journalism, not entertainment, just your ego needing to feel big by making someone else feel small. Don't psychoanalyze me, Lara snapped. Then don't disrespect me, Denzel countered. It's really that simple. I treat people the way I want to be treated. I show respect. I expect respect back. That's not arrogance. That's basic human decency. You're lecturing me about decency? Lara said incredulously. Somebody needs to, Denzel replied, because clearly no one else around here has the courage to tell you when you've crossed a line. George cleared his throat. Denzel, for what it's worth, I think you're handling this with remarkable grace. Thank you, George. Denzel nodded at him. I appreciate that. Lara stood up now too, her face flushed. This is unbelievable. I ask a few tough questions and suddenly I'm the villain? They weren't tough questions, Denzel said firmly. Tough questions are about the work, about the choices, about the impact. What you did was make accusations and personal attacks. There's a difference. I was trying to get past the PR talking points, Lara insisted. By calling me difficult? By saying I think I'm too good for certain shows? By accusing me of arrogance? Denzel listed them off. Those weren't questions. Those were accusations dressed up as questions. Robin nodded in agreement. He's right, Lara. You went too far. Oh, so now everyone's ganging up on me? Lara looked around at her co-hosts. No one's ganging up on you, George said carefully. But you have to admit, this didn't go the way it should have. It went exactly the way I wanted it to, Lara said defiantly. I wanted to see the real Denzel Washington, not the polished movie star version. And look, there he is, showing his true colors. Denzel shook his head slowly. My true colors? You want to know my true colors? I'm someone who shows up on time. I'm someone who knows my lines. I'm someone who respects the crew from the top down. I'm someone who takes my craft seriously but doesn't take myself too seriously. Those are my true colors. But you weren't interested in seeing any of that, were you? I was interested in the truth, Lara maintained. No, you were interested in conflict, Denzel corrected her. Because conflict gets attention. Conflict gets views. Conflict gets people talking. But here's what you didn't count on. I don't have to play along. I don't have to sit here and be your entertainment at my own expense. The studio crew had stopped moving. Everyone stood frozen, watching the confrontation unfold. Lara's voice took on a mocking tone. So you're too good to be challenged? Is that it? Challenge me about my work, Denzel said, his voice rising with passion now. Challenge me about my choices. Challenge me about my performances. Ask me the hard questions about the roles I take, the messages in my films, the way I approach the craft. I'll answer every single one of those questions with honesty and depth. But don't challenge my character based on nothing but your own assumptions. They're not just my assumptions, Lara argued. People talk. There are stories. Stories? Denzel repeated. Unnamed sources, vague accusations. That's your evidence? That's your journalism? George interjected softly. Maybe we should all take a moment to calm down. I am calm, Denzel said. And remarkably, he was. Despite everything, his voice remained controlled, measured. I'm calm because I know who I am. I know what I've accomplished. I know how I treat people. And I know that nothing she says can change any of that. Must be nice to be so sure of yourself, Lara said sarcastically. It is, Denzel agreed without hesitation. It's the result of 40 years of hard work, of learning from mistakes, of building relationships, of earning trust. You don't get there overnight. And you definitely don't get there by tearing other people down. Robin stepped between them slightly. Lara, I think you need to apologize. Apologize? Lara looked at Robin like she'd suggested something absurd. For doing my job? That wasn't your job, Robin said firmly. Your job is to interview guests, not attack them. I wasn't attacking him, Lara protested, though her tone suggested she knew that wasn't true. Yes, you were, George said quietly. From the very first question, you were attacking him. Lara looked around at her co-hosts, seeming to realize for the first time that she'd lost the room. I can't believe you're both taking his side. It's not about taking sides, Robin explained. It's about what's right, and what you did wasn't right. Denzel watched this exchange with a sad sort of understanding in his eyes. You know what the worst part is? This could have been great. We could have had a real conversation. I could have talked about the themes in the film, about working with the director, about the research I did for the role. Instead, we have this. Don't put this all on me, Lara said defensively. You could have just laughed it off. You could have played along. Why should I have to? Denzel asked simply. Why should I have to laugh off being disrespected? Why should I have to play along with my own humiliation? Because it makes for good television? Because that's what guests do, Lara said, as if it were obvious. No, Denzel corrected her gently but firmly. That's what you expect guests to do. There's a difference. You expect people to sit there and take whatever you dish out because they need you more than you need them. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this should work. George looked at his watch nervously. We really should go to commercial. The producers are probably losing their minds right now. Let 'em, Lara said stubbornly. This is real television. This is what people want to see. No, Denzel said, his voice filled with certainty. This isn't what people want to see. This is just what you think they want to see. There's a difference between drama and cruelty, between honesty and humiliation. You've confused the two. Robin nodded in agreement. He's absolutely right. This isn't entertainment. It's just uncomfortable. Then look away, Lara suggested coldly. I'm going to do better than that, Denzel said, picking up his jacket from the back of the chair. I'm going to leave. I'm going to walk out of here with my head held high. And I'm going to remember this moment as a reminder of why it's so important to treat people with respect. No matter what platform you have. You're really going to make a big dramatic exit? Lara asked. How very Hollywood of you. There's nothing dramatic about it, Denzel replied calmly. I'm simply exercising my right to remove myself from a toxic situation. If that seems dramatic to you, maybe you should ask yourself why. George stood up, extending his hand to Denzel. For what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened. You deserved better. Denzel shook his hand warmly. Thank you, George. You're a good man. Don't let this place change that. Robin hugged Denzel quickly. I'm so embarrassed. This isn't who we are. I know, Denzel assured her. You showed me that today. Both of you did. Lara remained seated, arms crossed, watching the goodbyes with an expression that was hard to read. Are you all finished with your little moment? Denzel turned to her one last time. I'm going to say something to you, and I want you to really hear it. Not as an attack, not as an insult, but as someone who's been in this business long enough to know. The way you treat people matters. The energy you put out into the world comes back to you. Today, you chose to use your platform to try to diminish someone else. I hope that's not who you really are. I hope this was just a bad day, a bad decision. Because if this is who you are, you're going to have a very lonely career. Is that a threat? Lara asked. It's not a threat, Denzel said softly. It's just the truth. This industry is smaller than you think. People remember how you make them feel. And today, you made me feel disrespected and unwelcome. That's your choice. But it's also your legacy. My legacy is just fine, Lara said, but there was less conviction in her voice now. I hope so, Denzel said sincerely. I really do. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do our best. We're all just trying to make something meaningful. And when we forget that, when we start using our positions to hurt rather than help, we lose what makes this all worthwhile. George spoke up again. Denzel, you're a class act. This whole situation proves it. I appreciate that, Denzel replied. But I'm just a man who knows his worth. That's all. And I refuse to let anyone make me feel less than that. Not for ratings, not for drama, not for anything. Robin looked at Lara with disappointment clear on her face. I hope you're proud of yourself. I am, actually, Lara said, though the words sounded hollow. I asked the questions everyone else was too afraid to ask. There's a reason everyone else was afraid to ask them, Denzel said, because they weren't real questions. They were accusations, and there's nothing brave about being cruel. I wasn't being cruel, Lara insisted, but even she seemed to be losing faith in that claim. Then what would you call it? Denzel asked. You questioned my character. You suggested I think I'm better than other people. You accused me of being difficult based on rumors. What's the word for that if not cruel? Lara didn't answer. Denzel nodded slowly. That's what I thought. You know what you did. You just don't want to admit it. But that's okay. You don't have to admit it to me. You just have to live with it. He turned toward the exit, and the camera operators instinctively followed his movement. Wait, George called out. Is there anything we can do? Any way to fix this? Denzel paused, considering the question. You can learn from it. You can make sure it never happens again. You can remember that the people who come on this show are human beings, not just content for your broadcast. That's all any of us can do. Learn and do better. We will, Robin promised. I promise you, we will. I believe you, Denzel said with a gentle smile for her. You've always had integrity. Don't lose that. Lara finally stood up, and for a moment, it seemed like she might apologize. But the moment passed. You're making too big a deal out of this. Am I? Denzel asked. Or are you making too small a deal out of it? You disrespected me on national television. You tried to humiliate me in front of millions of people. And your response is that I'm making too big a deal out of it? That right there tells me everything I need to know. What's that supposed to mean? Lara demanded. It means you still don't get it, Denzel explained patiently. You still don't understand why this was wrong. And that's the saddest part of all. Because if you don't understand it now, after everything that's been said, I don't know that you ever will. The studio was silent except for the quiet hum of the equipment. Everyone seemed to be holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. I need to go, Denzel said finally. I have nothing else to say. Thank you to the crew who worked hard to set this up. I'm sorry it ended this way, but I won't apologize for standing up for myself. He walked toward the studio exit with the same dignified grace he'd brought into the room. His back was straight, his head was high, and his steps were measured and purposeful. This is going to be everywhere, you know, Lara called after him. You walking off my show, everyone's going to see it. Denzel stopped one last time, turning back with a look of complete calm. Let them. Let them see a man who knows when to walk away. Let them see someone who refuses to be disrespected. Let them see that it's okay to stand up for yourself. If that's the story, I can live with that. You're going to regret this, Lara said, but her voice lacked conviction. No, Denzel said with absolute certainty. "The only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. Goodbye." And with that, he was gone. The studio doors closed behind him, and for several long seconds, nobody moved. The three remaining hosts sat in stunned silence. The crew stood frozen at their stations. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every awkward moment of the aftermath. Robin was the first to speak. "I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe you let him walk all over you like that," Lara said to her. "He didn't walk all over anyone," Robin responded sharply. "He defended himself against your attacks. There's a difference." George rubbed his face with both hands. "The producers are going to have a field day with this." "Good," Lara said. "Let them. We created a moment. That's what we're supposed to do." "Not like this," George said firmly. "Never like this." Creating moments doesn't mean destroying people. Lara looked between her two co-hosts, seeming to finally realize that she stood alone. "You're both overreacting." "Are we?" Robin challenged. "Really? You think calling a respected actor difficult and arrogant on live television is just normal interview technique? I think it's called being real," Lara maintained. "No," George said quietly. "It's called being mean, and there's nothing real about that. It's just mean." The weight of what had just happened seemed to settle over the studio like a heavy blanket. The morning had started with such promise, with the anticipation of a great interview with one of Hollywood's finest actors. Instead, it had devolved into a confrontation that no one would soon forget. Denzel Washington had walked onto the set, ready to share his passion for his craft. He had left that same set with his dignity intact, but his faith in morning television shaken. And somewhere in the middle, a line had been crossed that could never be uncrossed.